tough for mountain bikers back in the late 1980s and early 90s. The bikes were newfangled, no-frills contraptions. Trails were scarce, and maps were even more scarce. Finding other riders was often by chance encounters at bike shops, parking lots, and trails. But those obstacles didn't deter a growing number of people to ride their bikes on dirt trails tucked in and around the nation's capital and the surrounding suburbs of Northern Virginia and Maryland.
Back then, it was all about cotton. Just throw sweatshirts on, sweatpants, duct tape around your legs to keep that pants out of the chains.
We started very first watershed ride. Parked at the Hamburg Road gravel lot that we all still use. It was me and a guy I work with, so I'm out there on my Nishiki Ariel elevated chainstay, rigid bike, thumb shifters, all that.
Then in August of 1991, a tiny classified ad in an East Coast mountain bike magazine started something. Brian Nordwall got a lot of calls after he put his ad in Dirtrag. Soon he had a phone list of mountain bike enthusiasts who wanted to share dirty trails and tales. A few months later, he spotted a notice on a bulletin board in a local bike shop in Centerville about a meeting for a mountain bike club being organized by Richard and Michelle Zykowski. And so in early 1992, Brian and 30 to 40 of his dirt pals came to Richard and Michelle's meeting at My Bike Place in Centerville. They passed around a hat to collect money and decided to call themselves the Mid-Atlantic Off-Road Enthusiasts. More was born. The club got off to a fast start. Rides were organized that often had 20 to 30 people showing up at the trailhead. Word about the new club was spreading.
When I came back from the ride, there was a note on my windshield. Obviously, somebody saw the bike rack and left this little note. It wasn't even a business card or anything. It was Charlie. It said, if you want to ride with other mountain bikers, call me. And it was Charlie Ariel.
Soon there were well-attended monthly meetings where upcoming rides were announced. The ride line was set up, a phone number with an answering machine with the latest riding schedules. And as more bikers joined and started riding, the club took on a new role.
And as we started getting more members and more people started seeing interest, there were limited places to ride. So the club started shifting a little bit of its focus towards more advocacy, reaching out to land managers and park managers to see if we could get more trails and more places to ride. But
there were some early successes with trail advocacy in Gambrel State Park in Maryland and other areas. But it was in 1996 when Moore undertook two big projects that would establish the club as a key organization in developing sustainable trails: Fountainhead in Fairfax County, Virginia, and Schaefer Farms in Montgomery County, Maryland. As Moore continued to grow, so did the fun. Picnics and other local events often featured frisbike tournaments. Out-of-town trips were a big hit with club members. There were memorable and pioneering adventures at Blackwater Falls Park in West Virginia and Jim Thorpe in Pennsylvania. The club then discovered Dalvet State Park, nestled in the Jefferson National Forest in southern Virginia.
Sites. And the next year we did all the sites. We had 100 people showing up for our camp. And then it got to be, for 3 or 4 years there, it would take a couple, 3-4 weeks to sell out the camping trip. And then a couple of years ago, it sold out in hours.
The club was always looking for better ways to keep members connected and informed. So back in 1995, when the internet was still on the outskirts of society, Moore set up a website. It quickly became popular and continues to be the best way to stay in touch. As the 21st century dawned, the club continued to flourish, capitalizing on past successes and overcoming some occasional rough spots.
there's been conflict, there's been love, there's been everything, in this club.
Moore is now heading into its third decade with almost 1,000 members, more than 300 miles of trails it helps maintain, and an all-volunteer board of directors with a growing portfolio of projects and events.
The organization has been focused and united, but it's growing and broadening. And that's really what I'm seeing now. It's just we're from one end of the spectrum to the other, like I was saying, we're doing these large couple $100,000 trail builds to volunteer building to events. It spans the gamut, and it's amazing.
I think that the folks that worked so hard over 20 years to make this club have really got it to a place that everyone should be very proud of. That's the first thing I would say. The second thing is, I'd say, let's live up to what we've become. This club has done amazing things, but at this point we're still underachieving a little bit. What could we be next? And I think the last thing I want to say is let's try and keep it fun. With all this work and this effort and this responsibility, let's remember to just, ride bikes and build trail and, drink beer and make it fun and keep it fun.